We are building the Sports Heroes project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. We previously saw what are sets, and we realized that sets are these unordered collections which can be very useful to isolate, for example, duplicates. Now, before moving forward, let us take a comparative look at lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. These are very, very integral parts of Python. I thought it will be very helpful to bring them onto a single slide for a comparative analysis. We have seen all of this now, so it's an opportune moment for us to, let's say, talk about this. Let's start with lists, which obviously we have seen a lot. Lists are basically defined with square brackets, comma separated values. These values need not come from the same data type. However, each of these has an index. Items may be duplicated, and as we know, lists are mutable, which means we can change, we can add values, add items, delete items, and so on. And we can also slice. In fact, all of this we have been doing through our program, and hence we are very, very familiar with lists. Lists are useful when there's calculation involving, let's say, numbers which are somehow related to each other, but we want to say manipulate those numbers, move them around, and so on. Next, we have tuples. Tuples you can think of as very special lists. Tuples are are generated by using, let's say, the round bracket. So notice here, this square bracket makes it a list. This round bracket makes it a tuple. Just like lists, each item has an index. Items may well be duplicated, not a problem. However, a very, very, very important point that tuples are immutable, which means once created, we cannot change the items, we cannot add items, we cannot delete items, we cannot in fact change the length of a tuple. This is the reason that tuples can become keys in a dictionary, whereas lists cannot. And of course, we can slice the tuples. So that way, they're quite similar. Now, where are tuples useful? Well, tuples basically, if you have some values which do not change, let's say through the program, then tuples become very, very efficient in terms of memory usage. In fact, for the same amount of data, tuples consume lesser memory because once again, they cannot be changed. So once created, that memory is allocated to them, and that becomes quite efficient. Let's say in a, for example, in our snake game, when we had a fixed obstacle at a certain point, that XY coordinates we could have stored in a tuple, for instance. We have also seen dictionaries. Now we know that dictionaries are always inside curly brackets as key value pairs. So for example, here 1A, 2B, 3C, 1, 2, and 3 are keys, and values are accessed through the keys. So at some level, we can think of dictionaries as special lists where these keys are acting like the index. But as we have seen before, there are differences between lists and dictionaries. Dictionaries are very, very powerful, for example, for lookup. So they let you look up values really fast. Um, as we have seen before, keys must be unique and keys must be immutable. For this reason, strings can be keys, integers can be keys, tuples can be keys, but lists cannot be because lists are mutable objects. We can, for a dictionary, again, we can change, we can add, delete, and so on. Basically, it's almost like lists from that point of view. However, we cannot slice. And this is an interesting thing because, again, there's no index per se, that we are assigning to a, let's say, a key. Now, finally, when it comes to sets, sets are also defined using a curly bracket. As you see, curly bracket for dictionary, curly bracket for sets. However, as we have seen, sets do not have index and all items must be unique. Now here keys must be unique, but values could be, let's say, repeated, doesn't matter. But when it comes to sets, all items must be unique, and we have seen this before. We can add and remove items. However, since there's again no index, we cannot slice. So, now dictionaries, as we have seen before, are very useful in projects like, let's say, laptop store, top terms, and so on. For instance, in laptop store, we stored the entire laptop's configuration in a dictionary because all those, let's say, the RAM, the CPU, the screen size, and so on, became keys, and their values could be depending on the laptop that we have. A set, on the other hand, is basically just a collection, like we've seen, very useful when we want to check, let's say, membership, or want to figure out if there's an overlap between two, let's say, groups of things, or and a bunch of other set operations, as we'll see a little bit later. Also, as we have also seen, a very useful combination happens when we create lists of dictionaries. In fact, we have already done this in the Sports Hero project. Each winner of a Wimbledon tournament, for example, is a dictionary inside a big list, which is whose items are all dictionaries. So list of dictionaries also becomes quite interesting. Now lists, tuples, dictionaries, sets, These are fundamental, like I said, to Python. Important to sort of understand them and understand where they are the most useful. And obviously, this comes with practice. I'm also putting a link over here for you to go and further explore this topic. You know, the more we practice, the more it becomes clear to us as to what is the right, let's say, data structure to be used for a given. Having a summarized view the way we have done it here, I hope has been useful to you and I hope you found this interesting. The way we learn Python at YByte is quite interesting because we always wrap up all our learning through an activity that gives us a direction that makes the whole pursuit more meaningful, more exciting, and much more enjoyable. Look at our website www.ybyte.in to see many such activities because that is how we learn Python programming. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.